Hello, you beautiful souls, and welcome back to yet again another episode with Moi. And in today's episode, we are going to be going to what so many of us do without us realizing, and that is avoiding. We're really good at avoiding, believe it or not, and we don't actually realize how much we avoid ourselves, our emotions, our thoughts, and what's truly going on in our life and in our own inner world as well. And I'm not coming on here calling you out because I know that I do it as well. I woke up probably about 3 or 4 weeks ago from a lot of deeper things that I was avoiding. And once I woke up to it, not only was I shocked, but it kind of made me a little bit excited because it gave me more internal work for me to do, which means if I have more internal work to do, there is more growth that is going to be happening at the end of it, which is even more exciting because that's what I'm all here for. The more I grow, the more I can support and help you. So I want to go into how we know we're avoiding because there's certain things that we do, believe it or not. And with you knowing this, it will actually support you in knowing the people around you as well. Because there is a lot of people avoiding their lives. And when people avoid, they can very much project onto you. So, what I mean by projection is that they have certain emotions that they feel with inside of them, and because they can't deal with it, they blame you. And that is normally done due to avoiding something underneath the surface. So, very small things that I know when I'm avoiding is that my screen time on my phone is crazily high compared to normal. I have this thing that now, because I'm aware that that is an avoidance strategy for me, I always check my screen time. So normal screen time for me per day is about 5.5 hours. That's normal for me. Okay. So when I see that it's nearly 8 to 9 hours on average per day, I'm like, whoa, what's going on here? And because with my phone, it tells me every week, every Monday, it tells me my average screen time. So I'm not escaping this fact. And because I know that is like one key indicator for me that I know that I'm avoiding something. Another way that people avoid their emotions or they avoid themselves is they do have addictive tendencies. And what do I mean by that? Obviously, there is the bigger addictive tendencies, as example, drug addictions, alcohol addictions, sex and porn addictions. These are ways that we try to escape our feelings. And it allows us to have a high because the emotions that we're feeling are taking us to a low and dark place. So if we are taking drugs, if we are drinking alcohol, if we are using porn, you are going to get yourself to a very high high. And because we love that feeling, we will keep doing it. And that will probably really open your eyes as to the partner in your life as well. Because I know so many women that I speak to, their ex partners or their partners, even now, have something about porn or they have something about having sex more than usual. And the reason why is because there's a lot of deeper, unhealed wounds that haven't been healed, that haven't been spoken about, that haven't been expressed. And because they've just put it all under the carpet, they think that if they keep watching porn, if they keep having sex and they keep getting that high, that they're going to be okay. And unfortunately, how can I put it? No matter how long you try to avoid something, there is going to be a time that you have to face it. Like, I can't tell you how important this is. And I want you to know that you do have a choice whether you decide to face it yourself and you decide when. And if you don't stick to that, trust me, the powers that be will send you into the exact situation that you are avoiding. And I know which one I would rather choose. I'm telling you that from past experience, that's for sure. So, yeah, many of us can use addictive, like use substances or use things outside of us to avoid what's truly going on. And another thing that I went to during my huge avoidance stage at the very beginning of my journey was number one was my work. I would overwork like crazy. Not only was I not getting paid enough anyway for the normal hours I was working, I should have been working 8 hours a day, 6 days a week. I was working on average 10 to 12 hours a day and still getting the same salary. Why? Because if I sat with myself, I'd sat with my thoughts, and it's my thoughts that I believed were very, very scary and were going to take me to a dark place. So, what did I do? I just avoided my thoughts by working because that kept my mind busy on something else than the shit show that was going on in my life at that point. Okay. And not only was I using work to avoid, I was also using food. Food was the thing that was taking me to my high. I am a huge foodie anyway, so that's not a difficult thing. But I would I would go over when it came to food. So I remember at my darkest point, I was eating 5 meals, and I don't mean 5 small meals, I mean 5 meals a day. And I would at least have 3 out of those meals being large meals out, either it being a McDonald's meal, a meal in the place that I was working at the time. They were big meals, okay? And this was how I managed to get to 100 kilos in 6 months. I gained like 20 kilos in 6 months because I was avoiding so much. I was working, and because I was working, I did not have a routine to eat normally. So I was eating so much crap. And whenever I'd feel sad, what would I do? Just get on the phone and get a takeaway. And this is the thing where I'm based, I can just easily just call up the takeaway shops and they can bring me food within 20 minutes. So that's what I would do, just bring as much as I could to the house, especially when I was having a down moment and I just eat and eat and eat and I'd be like, oh, now I'm satisfied because I've eaten my favorite meal and yeah, life's good again. But then guess what? You have to come down from that high. And this is where the addictive behavior can come in because when you start to come down, you start to find these deep dark thoughts again. So then what do? You go straight back to the thing that gave you the high again, which was exactly what I did. So as soon as that meal had worn off, right, okay, where can I find my next meal? And then I'd go back down again, right, okay, where can I find my next meal? And then I'd go to sleep and then I'd wake up in the morning, right, okay, I need my meal. And this is exactly the same for drugs, exactly the same for alcohol, and exactly the same for porn as well. These are classic ways for us to avoid. And to be honest, men and women avoid things in different ways. So you can understand the different patterns that you as a woman do along with your partner, because your partner will also have different ways of avoiding his emotions as well. And I think it's really good that I'm giving you, yeah, check me out. I'm giving you both sides. So not only can you understand yourself, you can understand the people in your life as well. So for us as women, you will find that we will mainly go towards working, alcohol, and food. These are the main ones. And we'll either go with food in a positive way, in a way that we will actually limit the food that we eat, but then we'll become obsessive with how we look, and we go to the gym and we try and prove ourselves to be not what other people think we are. So normally, as example, when we split up from someone, we will then become obsessed because we didn't think that we were good enough in the relationship. So we now are trying to prove, unconsciously trying to prove to the outside world that we are good enough, and then we lose weight and try and and kind of focus on making ourselves look a certain way so we gain approval. So that's one way. And then obviously the other way is us overeating. With work, I see so many women out there that are workaholics. That to me straight away is a ding, ding, ding. Why are you working that amount of time when you, number one, you don't need to? Number two, what are you trying to prove? And number three, what are you avoiding? We don't need to be working as much as this. And I'm sorry, you can't tell me that a woman of 12 hours a day loves her job that much that she's working 12 hours a day. I absolutely adore my job, adore it. It is something that fills me up from the inside. But you will not find me working my job 12 hours a day because number one, I can't give the best of myself 12 hours a day. And number two, I'm going to be exhausted. I deserve me time. And if you're continuously overworking, there is a lot there that you are trying to avoid. And then when it comes to men, you will find that the majority of men will look at porn or have cheating tendencies or be quite needy when it comes to sex. They'll need sex quite a lot, more than average. And I know this is not the reason why I'm bringing this here is because I know that this is something that a lot of women are embarrassed about. A lot of women don't talk about it, especially in the Islamic culture and the Middle East. It's not something that you go around talking to people. And also at the same time, because I've witnessed there is a lot of childhood hurt and upset in this area of the world. And that means that a lot of men are like that. So it becomes the norm. So if it's the norm, then us as Europeans, when we're coming into the Middle East, it's then, oh, well, okay, that's different, that's different, that's different. I take it that it's just a culture thing. When it's actually not a culture thing, it's all the types of hurt that they've been through because life in the Middle East is not like how it is in Europe. There is a lot more emotional manipulation and emotional abuse that happens here compared to what we experience in Europe. Again, this is based on what I've seen. Okay, so it's asking yourself, is that behavior normal for me? And if I am not giving him sex, or if he is going to porn, our automatic thing is number one, if he wants sex a lot, then I'll just have to give it to him so I don't upset him. No, you don't have to keep giving it to him because he needs it. You also matter. And number two, a lot of the time when porn is involved, we believe that there's something wrong with us. So when we believe there's something wrong with us, we then start to overdo in our relationship. But the truth of the matter is, if he is going to porn, that's something that he's doing based on what's going on in his internal world, what's going on within his mind. It's nothing to do with us. And that's also showing areas within yourself, within your own self-confidence, where that could be lacking. Because not everything that happens in our external world is a reflection of us. Not everything. Yes, we're going to learn lessons with him going to porn, but at the same time, he's not going to porn because of you. He's going to porn because of his own stuff going on in his own world, which he is avoiding, which is again the mirror reflection of what are you then avoiding in regards to your own self-confidence. You see? So these are ways that we can avoid. And a lot of people, when bad stuff happens to us, when things happen to us that upset us a lot, will say, oh, it's fine, time's a healer. Ugh, time is not a healer. And I'm telling you that now. I believed that when I left the UK after my mum and dad split up. I thought, oh, I'll start a new life. It'll be fine. I'll be fine. Of course it will be fine. I've started a whole new life. I'm out of the UK. I'm in Egypt. I'm with my partner at the time. I'm starting to get work here. I'm going to start my new life. Amazing. And when I split up from my ex 8 years later, the first thing that came to my mind was the feelings of how I felt when my mum and dad got divorced 8 years previous. Time is not a healer. What is a healer is choice. When you decide to heal what you've been through. Because the thing is, you can leave a relationship, that's fine. I left my relationship in 2018 and I was still in the same cycle until 2020 when I was like, do you know what? The person that I am, I don't like this person. I'm looking in front of the mirror and I do not like this person who's staring back at me. That is not me. And the only way I'm going to change that is by me choosing to change it. Because for the 2 years previous, I had done my life as normal. And the more I was doing my life, the more I was becoming a version of myself that I didn't want to be. So, yeah, I could continue to keep avoiding it, but I'm going to turn into a person that I don't want to be. I'm not going to be able to find another partner if I'm someone that I don't like. And if we are avoiding, what we are avoiding will continue to repeat until we choose to heal it. And a lot of us don't realize that. I've personally just been reading on one of the support groups that I'm on about a woman who is very, very much aware that she has abandonment issues. Her mum and dad unfortunately died when she was little, and she now believes, because of how her husband's acting, that he's going to leave her. So instead of him leaving her, she wants to leave him first so she doesn't feel the hurt as she did in the past. And she thinks that that's going to solve everything. It's going to solve the not facing that emotion. Yeah, it's going to solve that because she's going to take herself out of the situation. But then what's going to happen when she gets in a relationship again? She's still going to be in fear that that guy's going to leave. It's going to keep repeating until she decides either to not be with anyone and just keep that shield over her heart, or do the deeper work in understanding that when her mum and dad died, they didn't leave her. It was that that's what was meant to be at that time, and that the powers that be decided to take them at that time. It's not a reflection of her. And this is what happens when we avoid. We will continue repeating the same cycle, which means we are going to continue to live in fear. And when we live in fear, that is a very dark place. It's a very fearful place, and it's not helping you become the best version of yourself. Fear is keeping you down, it's keeping you small, it's keeping you dimming your light, which is something that you shouldn't be doing. We are not here to be living in fear. And if we continue to live in that way, we are not going to be able to work towards the dreams that we desire in our life. This is a big, big thing. because we're going to constantly be living in a scared place. And the other reason why we avoid is because we're not actually taught how to process our emotions. We are not taught as children, when we're upset, how to deal with our sadness. Our mums would say, right, okay, come on, get up, you're fine, don't worry, come on, we're going to go and get you an ice cream. Or don't be acting up like that. Don't be hitting your friend, that's not good. If you're angry at your friend, don't hit him. Come here and I'll sort it out. In all of this, as kids, we are disempowered to not know how to deal with our emotions. Because at that point, that angry child didn't know how to express himself, so he went to go and hit someone. Whereas, as a parent, if our parents would have said, how are you feeling right now? I'm feeling angry. Okay, I understand that you're feeling angry. How is the best way for you to deal with your anger right now? I need to go and punch a pillow. Okay, go to your bedroom, punch the pillow, and come back and speak with me. That way, you're allowing the child to express their emotion in a healthy way because it's not hurting anyone. And then you're bringing the child back out to speak to them about their emotions. When a child's crying and you're telling them to quick, come on, up you get, let's go and get an ice cream, you're telling them that their sadness doesn't belong. You're not even supporting them with the sad experience that they have, then you're not allowing them to express it. So when we're taught as children not to express our emotions, we continue doing that as adults. This is where our learnt behavior comes from. And because we don't know how to deal with our emotions, and because as a child we avoided them, we then start doing it as an adult. And the only way we are going to stop avoiding is by processing what's underneath and by learning how to process these big emotions. And most of the time, my clients, they'll come on calls with me and they're like, I'm really sorry, I'm crying, I'm really sorry, right, I'm going to wipe my eyes. And I'm like, no, cry. It's healthy to cry. It's normal to cry. When you cry, you are releasing an emotion, a stuck energy in your body that needs to shift. And when you cry, you're going to feel so much better afterwards. So cry. Please cry. I provide them with a safe place, not only to fully express themselves, I don't judge them. Because this is another thing, when we have processed emotions in the past, people around us have judged us, which is reflecting back to us how we judge ourselves. We shouldn't judge ourselves when we're expressing emotion. We are human. And as women, we are very much expected to be the happy ones, to be the ones that provide the care, the nurture, the happiness, the love, based on what we've been grown up to see from our own parents. And when we do that, there is no space in that for the other side of us, the moody side, the expressing emotions side, the vulnerable side, the sad side, the angry side. There's no space for that. And it can be that when we express that side of us, our partners become distant and they might leave. So then because we're in fear that they're going to leave, we then start to be a character which is not our true self, which is again avoidance. And the more and more we avoid this, believe it or not, emotions are energy in motion. And we are energetic bodies, okay? We have energy going all the way around us. Yeah, I didn't know that either. So emotions are energy. If we do not release that energy is being stored in our body. And when it's stored in our body, the energy then clogs up our organs. And this is where we then get sick. And this is when illnesses start to come about. I only realized this because at the peak of my avoidance, I also developed digestion problems. My colon would not process the food that was going through it. And I was quite sick for a few months. And it was only when I went to the doctors that that was also the reason that was stopping me from losing weight, because my colon wasn't processing. And the main reason why the colon doesn't process is due to stress. So she asked me, "What are you stressed about?" I was like, well, I've currently split up from my ex and he's stalking me and. So she was like, oh, no wonder your colon's not processing then. Because I wasn't processing my emotions. Can you see how my body was talking to me at that moment? And I wasn't listening. I was not listening. And this is what happens with my clients. They come to me and they do have a number of health problems. And it is because of so many stored emotions in their body that haven't been processed, which again is a key ding, 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 that there is unprocessed emotions. This stuff goes so deep, so deep. And I I have a number of different family members that have different neurological issues with themselves. And I have done a lot of background research on it to understand what they're going through on so many different levels, on a physical level, on a mental level. And I've actually narrowed it down to stuck emotions that have not been processed from when they were children. And it's built up and built up and built up and built up and built up mentally, which has then meant that they've now been faced with neurological issues in their life, with lifelong conditions. And this is why this work is so important. We do not realize, we think, oh, I'm feeling sad. Oh, it's okay. I'm feeling happy. We don't realize that sadness, anger, disappointment, guilt, shame has so much of a deep impact on us and how our bodies are and how we are and how we show up. This is what contributes to the darkness of depression and overwhelming emotions, because you have two different frequencies of emotions: fear, shame, disappointment, anger, sadness. They're all low vibe emotions. So if you're in a low vibe field, you're not going to be able to get up high because you're not, the low emotions are stopping you to reach the high ones. And it's only when we pick away at all the different low vibe emotions to process them can we then hit the high. And the high is happiness, joy, excitement, peace, freedom. All of these are high vibe emotions. And you can tell straight away, especially if you're empathic, as soon as you meet someone, which vibe they're on. Like now, you can tell I'm on pretty high vibe. So, and you give that off to people. So if you're in a low vibe state with your emotions overwhelming you, people unconsciously are already going to pick up on that when you're going around, you know? And one of the biggest things for me is that I always want to leave a lasting impression on the people that I meet. That's what I love to do. I love to share my positive energy with other people. So how am I going to be able to leave that imprint when I leave someone if I'm not in a good vibe in place before I meet them? That's why boundaries are so important. That I only see people in my life if I'm in a good place, because that is what I desire to leave I desire to leave them in a high vibe place when I leave. So I'm not going to go there and meet someone in a low vibing place. Do you see how important that is? So I feel like I've really gone off the topic now and I've really gone into so many depths of avoidance. It's unbelievable. But the message of this episode is stop avoiding. You are a lot more powerful than you think, and you do have the capabilities of dealing with these emotions. If you feel that you don't, this is why my mentorship is here, because trust me, I have experienced an overwhelming amount of emotions. And because I know how to do it, this is what I do in my mentorship. I guide you not only for you to have a safe place to express them, but I guide you exactly how to deal with them and process them. So then, after we've finished our time together, you will have all the tools and techniques that you need. So, whenever sadness comes up, you know how to deal with it. Whenever anger comes up, you know how to deal with it, you know how to process it, you know what it's telling you, and you can communicate that to the other person. Emotionally, you will be a warrior who knows exactly how to deal with every single aspect of her. And if you continue to avoid, it will continue to repeat in your life, because that's what happens with the curriculum of life. I said that on my stories the other day. I thought that was quite good. Um, in the curriculum of life, if you don't learn the lesson, you will continue to go through the test until you passed. And I say this to my clients all the time. Whatever we cover in our session, that week, you're going to have a test in that. And it's up to you when the test comes, are you going to learn everything that we've gone through in the session to pass the test? Or are you going to go back to what you used to do? That's a conscious choice for all of us. And it's only when we have the awareness of truly what's going on in our life and the tests that are coming up, can we then say, are we going to keep evolving and growing, or are we just going to click the repeat button? And I've been going through a lot of heavy emotions at the moment. Whatever I bring to this podcast, I have in the behind the scenes, I'm telling you. I've been processing a lot of emotions. And I have been avoiding, I'm not going to lie, because there is actually new emotions that are coming up with more depth that I haven't experienced before. And because it's a new place, I am a bit wary. I am a bit scared. I'm not going to lie. But I'm like, no. The deeper I go into an uncomfortable place, the more I'm going to be able to grow. And in all of this, that's what I desire. To grow and learn more about myself. Because the thing is, the more we learn about ourselves, the more we can translate that to the people in our life. Instead of assuming people know who we are explaining to them who we are on the inside. And how can we explain the depths of who we are when we don't know the depths? We don't know what's truly going on in here in our inner world. We don't truly know what's going on because we're not looking at it, you know? And going back to the situation with the woman that I spoke about in the Facebook group and her needing advice, she didn't actually communicate the abandonment issues that she had with her parents, with her husband. And that was the first thing that I wrote on there. Have you said anything to him about these abandonment issues? And she said, well, it's not really important. And it actually is extremely important. It's extremely important for the other person to know who you are. And this is the thing. Until you fully accept who you are, the good, the bad, and the nasty, until you accept and see all of that, you're only going to translate the good parts to the people that are in your life. I am no way embarrassed by my story now, because my story shows the strength of who I am. If I was to go and meet someone now who's Egyptian, I will not have a problem in saying, yes, I was in a relationship with another Egyptian for 8 years. And if I'm honest, it was an abusive relationship, but here I am today. This is what I've been through. This was all the things that he did to me in the past. So I'm just letting you know that these types of things can trigger me. So I would really appreciate it if you could do XYZ because this would really help me emotionally support when I am triggered going forward. Can you see how me understanding myself, no longer avoiding myself, can support me in translating who I am to the person that I'm with and can actually support them in being the best partner that I actually desire to support me in growing in my own journey? This is what it's all about, especially in relationships. Most people that are married have issues because they don't truly show the other person who they are. And it's only when you understand who you are can you then start to translate that over to the other person. So you can both become a lot more understanding of each person's inner world and what's going on with them mentally to then support them to be the best version of themselves. Because you do not have to do this on your own. You do not have to do this journey on your own. Do not be embarrassed by what you're avoiding. It's your story. Do not be embarrassed about what's happened in your life. It's your story. Because trust me, when you are 87 years old and you have your granddaughter sitting on your knee asking you, Nanny, how was your life? You will have an incredible story to tell her, and you will have incredible lessons to teach her. And it's only if you learn these lessons can you then tell your granddaughter what to avoid as she's growing up. You can tell her the ways to not allow what's happened to you to happen to her. You can share your wisdom with her, and you can allow her to have the happiness that you desired at her age because you're giving her all the wisdom to do that. And this is the main reason why I'm doing all this work. I'm doing all this work for my daughter, for my grandchildren, even for my nieces. Like everything that I do, I translate to them to make them understand, to give them the wisdom so they can be the best versions of themselves and not have to go what I've been through. And you can do exactly the same. Not only is working on your own inner world supporting you, it's supporting everyone that comes after you. It's an investment not only in your life, but in their lives as well. Stuff like this is priceless. And I don't think we I don't think that we prioritize our mental health enough. There is so much shame in this world that we have to be something that we're not, that we have to be this happy version of ourselves. And it's only when we truly invest in us and understand our own mental health and accept the good, the bad, and the ugly of ourselves can we start being unapologetically out in this world, no longer trying to please everyone that we meet, but actually go up to the people and say, do you know what? This is who I am. And this is what I'm doing on this podcast. I am not trying to sugarcoat anything. This is me. This is who I am. This is how I express myself. And I may do it wrong. I may not do it right. I may mess up on my words, but this is me. And it's up to you to keep listening and accept that or find someone else that you want to listen to. This is how it works. And it's only now that I have accepted so much of myself that I can come on here and do what I'm doing. I didn't think 2 years ago that I'd be videoing myself talking about this type of stuff, but here we are because I've done that much inner work as a reflection. So I'm going to stop right there because I am really going off on a tangent now, but that is how you can. This is the other side of avoidance. That's what I was going to say. This is the other side of avoidance. When you stop avoiding, that's what's the other side. And it's about going through a small bit of discomfort to have so much inner peace going forward. That's what it's all about. So I'm going to leave you with this question. Are you going to keep repeating the cycle and avoiding? Or are you going to evolve and grow? I'll leave that with you. And remember, we are all stars and we are beautiful. I love you so much, and I will catch you on the next episode.